And hello good people of the internet, it is I, Tommy Kelly, and this is Adventures Moo. And in this episode, I want to talk a bit more about, well, give you a bit of an update, I suppose, on what's going on with the new comic. First of all, though, as you may notice, I have got my hair cut. Thank the gods. It was getting a bit unruly, and I was getting a wee bit ashamed of it. I wasn't really at all, actually, to be fair. I didn't even know anything about it until that 10 minutes a day when I switch on the video camera and had to look at myself. But I got it done this morning, and I do actually feel better when I get a haircut. There's kind of a thing that I feel that when you get a haircut, there's always like a new start, or there's some kind of, reset or something happens. I can't really explain it, but I have talked to other people who have a kind of similar kind of feel about haircuts, that they can, in some way, it's a reinvention or a reinvigoration of themselves. So it's a magical act in some way, unless of course you're Samson and then you lose all your magic power by getting your haircut, and then you probably shouldn't. So, I've been watching Spud's vlogs, and if you aren't watching Spud's vlogs, you should watch Spud's vlogs, because he's doing 30 of them. Well, he's doing a 30-day challenge of a video every day, apart from at the weekend. And he has a very kind of conversational, an awful lot more kind of relaxed kind of approach to his videos, which I kind of really enjoy. And it was my initial idea in these was just to have a bit more kind of conversation, where I would just literally talk about what was ever going on. And it kind of turned into these topic type things, which I've mentioned this before, and I'm very fine with that. But I kind of, when I was looking at Spud's videos, there's a part of me going, oh yeah, that's what I was meant to do, and in a sense, just not take it so seriously. And that some of the videos that I've kind of noticed that if there's a couple of mistakes, I'll stop it and I'll try it again and stuff. And it's just like, the whole point of these is it's not to be too much work. It's just kind of. I also noticed that I've been spending a couple of videos talking about how I should approach the videos, and I should just probably do the videos. Anyway, it's a lovely day today here in Ireland, and we have the sun out and there's a lovely heat coming around. But it's got very quiet, it's got very kind of silent, and I went out for a walk last night, and literally for most of it I didn't see anyone else. But we have got our new cases. It's meant to, the coronavirus, the curve is that it's 30% exponential increase in cases every day, and in Ireland at the minute, last time I checked, it was down to 15, so that's good news. I was asking people today, or I was asking Spud anyway, like, how do we know when this is over? What is the kind of things that have to be in place, or things that have to happen where we can say this is ended? Because I don't really know what the end goal is, because I was thinking, well, if there's no new cases in Ireland, that's still not it, because if there's like cases still going on over the world, it's not as if we can open up the borders again and let people back in, because that just resets everything. So is it a case that it's like an effective treatment has to be found, that there's a certain amount of cases worldwide that have to be, everything has to get to zero? Is it, Spud was suggesting that maybe it was a case that it has to get to the same numbers as the normal flu, which I assume it probably has, or is less in Ireland, because I'm sure more people this time last year would have had the flu than this, because there was no social distancing and there was no things in place. So I don't know. So if you do know what the answer is, how do we know when this is all over? Is it just that someone on the news will come in and go, it's all over? But what are the kind of things that need to happen for it to be considered, beaten or finished? Anyway, I was going to talk about my comic. Last night I had a wonderful time when I went to bed, and I was finished reading, and I just kind of lying in a kind of relaxed, receptive kind of state. And then the whole of the comic, of the whole intro section, just started playing out in my mind, kind of like a download, like it just all came in. They're not kind of all in one piece. There was a bit of kind of trying to work it out. There was a bit of kind of structure my brain was putting on it. But for the most part, it all, each scene and each thing that I wanted to happen, or each thing that I felt I was preparing for, just kind of arrived in a kind of complete form of what the entire scene is meant to be. It's a very odd thing, and it's very thing I find hard to explain. It's almost as if all the prep work, in a sense, what I've been doing up to now around the comic, has been in order to allow space for this thing to arrive, rather than trying to hammer it out or trying to kind of, mold it or create it. Now, that's not to say that, that I wasn't thinking about things. All the things I said in the previous kind of rambly video about my creative process, I still was, was putting structure together, wasn't coming up with a story. was kind of working on characters, was working on the art, but it was all kind of precursory to this kind of thing that happened last night. Was then when the kind of idea, if to use Alan Moore's type of kind of language, it came from idea space and then came down as a kind of a fully more formed, complete package. And that's the thing I've been waiting for. Like, and as I knew it arrived, because it arrived with, it arrived with Holy Numbers, it arrived with them. Holy Numbers was kind of more of a process than them, because them just kind of arrived wholesale. Kind of, I knew what I was doing. The character arrived, and I very quickly, from when I kind of decided I was going to do something to start it, it was like really quick, a couple of weeks, fortnight, something like that. Whereas with the Holy Numbers, there was like a long time, there was months, 6 or 7 months of kind of trying to work out what it was. Now at the time when I was doing the Holy Numbers, there was an awful lot of kind of building up a kind of art style and stuff as well, so that was part of it. But the original story of the Holy Numbers and the whole thing I was trying to do was so completely different from what it ended up being, that there was this kind of idea of having to, try out some ideas or try out a kind of thing until whatever it was that wanted to be told came about. And then in the end, I went into the Holy Numbers having a very vague kind of idea of what it was going to be, but having confidence enough that I knew that there was something there. That it's very woo-woo, but it's like that's the whole thing. Like, that's when I say when magic is art and art is magic and magic is art, all those things. What I mean, I completely approach creativity from a kind of a magic point of view, or I approach magic from a an art point of view or creative point of view. So it all kind of blends in, and I think it's really good for creativity to come at it from a kind of a magical thinking point of view. A creation of new worlds, it's all these big magical ideas. And it's not surprising to me that you find people like Alan Moore and Grant Morrison and a host of other people. Like, they're the most famous kind of people doing the magic comic-y type thing, but there's like loads of people doing it. It's no surprise to me that it happened, because it's such a great form to do it in. It's like you can literally have, if you were trying to make films or movies, there's such a huge budget that you would need to kind of do your ideas, whereas in comic form, you can literally do anything you want once you have the kind of technical ability to draw these things. Or you can just, if you don't, find someone who has, or just do the best you can. But it was great kind of this kind of downloading it. And when I came down this morning and I got into the office, I said, I'm going to write it all out. Usually I wouldn't, because I kind of tried to let it percolate a bit more. But this feels more complete and more solid, that it was just kind of, no, if I'll write it down, and then now it's, because it gets me to the next stage. Now I can properly start structuring what the actual pages will look like, because the actual structure of the comic and the plot line and the stuff, it has now arrived. And what arrived last night was a good chunk of it. Like, I would say the whole entire first 1/3 of the story, possibly. It depends. It's going to be quite decompressed, the whole thing. So it's hard to know what exactly is the. Well, I suppose it's the point where it's all the characters are introduced, their world is set up. There's somewhat an inciting instance. There's a number of inciting instances, in fairness, and there's a whole kind of back. So it's like the kind of enough of the story. It's the world. It's the setup. All of that is there, complete, whatever. And now from this is where I'm going to put the characters in and see what they do with it. And I'm as interested to see what is the outcome. Now, with the kind of thing is that there is a hyper-sigilness to it, so there is a kind of a thread going through it of stuff that has to be in place, because that's what I'm trying to, from a magic point of view, rather than just a strict art point of view, I'm trying to, manifest in many different ways. It's funny, I was thinking as well that that it happened at night, late at night, because when I was doing other comics, when I was doing previous comics, that kind of thing would happen when I was out having a smoke. And of course I haven't smoked in years now, so there's no kind of a similar kind of brain state where I would be outside just kind of allowing my brain to just, I don't know, go into a certain kind of receptive state, because you're pulled away from, any kind of, I suppose, exciting stimuli. You're not in front of the telly, you're not in front of the computer, you're just kind of outside looking at bushes and other houses in the sky. And kind of the pre-sleep state is the only kind of place where that kind of exists in my life now. Other than the meditative state, which would be similar, but you're trying not to think. You know, you're trying to, you know, not engage, which is you kind of, in a sense, while it's you're being receptive in this kind of download type of thing of the story, it's still not a meditative type thing. It wouldn't be conducive to that kind of what you're trying to cultivate in a meditative practice. But it is funny that the only kind of space now is this kind of pre-sleep state, which is fine, and I'm, you know, it's totally worth it. But it was like after 3 o'clock in the morning by the time I got to sleep, and I really felt when I was woken up by the wee man this morning at 7, I was like going, oh, that's just not enough sleep. So I'm glad it's not something in a sense that happens every night. I know Tom Waits has talked about, Elizabeth Gilbert has talked about Tom Waits talking about the whole idea of that when ideas arrive for him, sometimes are at the really wrong kind of time for him to, you know, to be kind of able for it. So like he'd be driving and he'd be like screaming at the ideas or the songs that are arriving in his case and going, come back, you know, come back when I'm able to do something with you. I'm driving on the highway now, there's nothing I can do. You know, come back when I'm sitting at the piano or when I'm doing something like that. But it's all very fun, and it's I'm so enjoying it, and I'm so kind of my only kind of reservation, I suppose, about the whole thing, or fear, or trepidation, or whatever is the correct word, is that when I'm writing this, and it's set in the world before coronavirus, and because I don't really know what the world is going to look like after coronavirus, I'm kind of hesitant to fully start, because I'm going, well, some of this mightn't be relevant anymore. Like some of the things might be, you know, it just that you'd be going, but that just doesn't make sense anymore because that's not the world we live in. And I suppose, of course, I could set it all in the past, which might be a kind of if the world changes dramatically, it might be something that I have to do to kind of, you know, make it all work and fit within kind of things, or just have it set in a kind of a, you know, like that thing after 9/11 where the West Wing did an episode, but it was all like, started off, it was saying like, this, don't try to find where this episode fits in with, you know, the rest of the series, or where it fits in with the real world. It's just kind of its own thing. So you could probably have the world just kind of its own thing, which to a large extent it is. Things working out in my brain that probably I need to let percolate. But that is kind of my only kind of fear and my own kind of hesitation of, you know, literally starting the first page today, is that I'm still unsure of what the world is going to look like by the time this comes out. And I want it to be relevant to that world. I think it'll be a better world. I hope it's a better world. So it's not so it's not that it's kind of, well, I suppose there is a kind of a sense that maybe I won't be, you know, there won't be a world receptive to it. But if my overriding sense is I want it to be relevant to whatever is the thing that comes out. Tommy's added a rambling thing again. But that's it. Like, so I think I may just have to just go ahead and just start and just hope for the best and hope that, you know, the world that we do arrive in is, you know, kind of a good place to be. And I can only imagine, I can only hope, and I'm going to be positive that it is, and it's receptive to what I want to talk about and what this idea has presented itself to me. And if an idea is coming from idea space and wants to manifest in this world, then I assume that its time has come, and it's not just that it's going to arrive, you know, in a place that's, in some sense, not hostile is too strong a word, but in that's not going to foster it in the way it could had it come 10 years ago or 10 years in the future. Ideas seem to have their own kind of volition and their own kind of way. So I'm going to trust in the idea more than my nervous brain that's kind of has trepidation around the whole thing. So exciting times. I'm looking forward to the whole thing, because now this is the bit I've been waiting for. This is this marks the end of the pre-production for the most part. A few bits here now, but it's, you know, this is where all the work that you've kind of put into the pre-production, try and get it, where now the story and the idea is taking its own life, and it's very obvious that my collaborator from Idea Space has shown up for me now, which is great. So, good people of the internet, until our next adventure, be safe, be kind, and be well.